the black family and unity.
Reasons changed during the time period of the planning?
Pardon me?
Did your reasons change during the time period of the planning?
No, not mine. I was committed from day one to strengthening the black family in our communities all along.
Instruments of service ready to be bless all who come today, all the souls who support each other, even those, Lord, who stood on the outside. Bless and help each heart. If there's anything to say or to you, that is purpose and true, let it be real, let it be blessing unto people, and let the glory be yours. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
My name is Leo Edwards, and I was at the Million Man March about 30 years ago. It was an interesting situation in the sense that the march itself was not on a weekend. It was actually on a Monday. And so it was, ordinarily you think that this type of thing would happen on a Saturday where everybody could come, go back home and be ready for work on the Monday. But this thing was situated on purpose to be on that Monday. And so people who came had the real intentions of being there. They had the intentions of wanting to experience this event, because to be on a Monday, it was a real big deal. And I kind of got involved with it through Frank Dunn and also with my brother-in-law Wayne and Griffin, because they had signed up for the event, and casually talking to them, they asked me, "Are you going to go?" And I was like, "I know much about it." And so after thinking about it and talking to them, I decided to go. And it was interesting on the Monday or the Sunday morning when we gathered up at the airport. You got an idea of the San Antonio group gathering up together, the portion of it, and their families and everybody saying goodbye. And we had the prayer together to kind of create that atmosphere. But once you got on the plane and once we landed in Houston, you could feel the magnitude of what was going on, because that was the first time in my whole life that the airport was filled with black men from different places coming into Houston, taking other planes, going to DC. You have no idea how unbelievable that experience was, and felt that, wow, this is really, really big. And so got on the plane to go to DC, and then we got off the plane and basically at the airport, that also deplaning with all these black men from all over, it just made it so that this thing took a whole different level of expectation. And when I signed up for it, I didn't know exactly what was supposed to happen. I know it was the Million Man March and it was a day of atonement, but I didn't understand the full significance of what was going on. But what happened is that when we got to the airport and saw all these people moving around, I had my camera and a movie camera with me, and I felt like, ooh, let me talk to Charles Shannon and find out why he came. And talking to him and listening to him talking and about the sensation of atonement, that we were there to look at ourselves and think about things to make ourselves better men. I felt this is a whole lot different, or at least it was something that was really significant, that was just getting ready to happen. And so as I talked to him, there were other people around and they wanted to be interviewed too. So I interviewed a number of guys at the airport. I had no intentions of using the camera for interviews. I thought I was going to bring the camera to have video of whatever the type of event that was going to take place. But this thing of interviewing those individuals created another sense or another layer of importance of this event. And so I took that feeling that I had from that interview up at the airport to doing the same thing at the hotel, because we had to wait in the foyer area and for our rooms to be ready. So during that time period, I must have interviewed about 20 guys and got a good feel for why did they come. And so I also interviewed the people at the march itself. It was such a big event. I mean, it started out in the darkness of the morning on that Monday. And as we moved down the street, the sun started coming up, and then you could see brothers coming from different directions towards this area. And you just could feel it in the air that something significant was going to happen. And the group of folks from San Antonio had a banner in front as we moved forward, and we were greeted by people saying, "Hello, San Antonio." So it just added to the specialness for us, but also being at 7 o'clock, 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning at sunrise, you could hear in the distance some people praying out loud in terms of they had the microphone, and it's like an Islamic prayer that was taking place as we approached the area where the march, or not really the march, the gathering was supposed to be. And so all of that created this aura of specialness to the event. I took my camera then and took pictures. I did some videos, and we spent the entire day listening to people talk to us about being better men, about being better fathers, about being better in terms of relationships. It was a mass event for men in some ways, because we needed that. We needed that because at the time period, and maybe even the time period now, the black male had some issues, and we were in prison more. We had issues with relationships. We had issues with relationships with our children. We were falling behind the black women in terms of getting an education, getting jobs, and it just felt like there was a big sinkhole that needed to be something done to make something better. And so as we stood there for the event and listened to these individuals talk about us, talk about what we were doing right, but also what we were doing wrong. That I think it enlightened so many of us at the event itself, such that we came back with some fire within us to change our lives, change our relationships in terms of trying to do things better as black men. I remember after the event was over with, some people were saying that, that women were not invited, and they felt hurt that they weren't invited. But I think that in retrospect, they did the right thing, because we were the problem. And so we had to be the solution. We had to look at ourselves to change. And I think that the majority of people that I interviewed felt that this Day of Atonement, or this Million-Man March, was something that motivated them to change within themselves, to become better men, better people in relationships, better in terms of relationships with their children, better in terms of having and being synthesized or to do something with their work, their education, to try to be better men. So I feel that this opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. on a Monday really invigorated me, and I think it had reinvigorated so many of us that went to the event itself. And I am so glad that I was able to record these individuals before the march and their feeling after the march, to kind of capture that for me, from my memory, but I also captured it for my son, who would look at this at a later point in time and understand, you know, what it's like for me during that time period of change.
This march is important because it is time that African American men stand up and take back their families and be responsible for our children. At the same time, it's very important that we try to stimulate economic development in our communities, and also that we attune and at the same time reaffirm to our grandmothers and our mothers and our wives that we're going to be responsible for their future.
Man, y'all not doing that right. Y'all all get behind that panel, man.
That is their job traditionally, because the press is controlled by white, totalitarian, fascist media. It is their job to distort the truth and dilute what we do as a people. So they just did their job, and today they're trying to clean up their job with a second press announcement. That was the first statement, even though we all know the helicopters were overhead all day long.
Is a genuine leader, whether he's determined to be such by the powers that be or not. Those of us who observed him and who have seen and heard him down through the years should give him the respect that he's due. He's certainly a genuine leader, and we need not be the same, so competitive when it comes to the leadership. Give everybody a chance who has something to deliver. He's delivered, so obviously these guys are coming by. The proof is in the pudding. As far as I'm concerned, he, along with Dr. Chambers,
enlightened and harmonious balance of where the Spirit moved upon the face of the crowd. And this was the Spirit of God to bring all healing back. They say there is a bomb, that heals the sense of self.
Totally awesome. 1.9 million African American men, just a sense of joy and redemption. And I think, the good part is when we get back, we can implement that feeling into some action.
I have my own ideas about Farrakhan. I think Farrakhan he's a great man. He's a Muslim, but you can respect the man for who he is and his following. But most people say, well, you're a Muslim. No, I'm not a Muslim, but I believe in what he says. Some of the things he says, I don't agree with him wholeheartedly, but I believe he's in the right direction, and he just tells it straight up. He doesn't sugarcoat it.
And my opinion of Farrakhan, it really hadn't changed a lot. I've never been totally against him and totally for him either. I just like some of his. I like some of their approaches on economic structure, and I am a firm believer in self-sufficiency, and I think that it should be done like that. I don't think that you have any problems.
Into that is that we too must be about our very own business to set the record straight. The day is gone when we can expect those in the white community to give a positive projection for the black male. It's simply not going to happen. I think history has already proved that, so it becomes a great day for black men.
I went back up there, he said,
It's the Atonement Day, but it also does other things. It tells us that Farrakhan today has given us the foundation for us to go back into our communities and start building a new feeling of self-worth, new feeling of cooperation among the Afro-Americans in our community, and to get rid of the gangs, the drugs, the things that are negative in our community.
Tell me that's only $400. Nah, man. You look at the front cover and tell that's more than $400. You can't believe it.
close caption. Yes, sir.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here to talk about the impact of the Million Man March. And sometimes it comes to me in ways that I hadn't realized in terms of the impact that it still continues to have on me. I kind of want to talk about how we got to the place where we were participating in the march, and then after that, the impact that it had on me personally, and the impact that I think it had on the city of San Antonio, and the impact that it continues to have. And I'm going to try to tie all those things together because I want to leave this message not just for the people that participated in the march, but for the next generation, like my kids. I had 2 sons that I took with me to the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, and the reason I did that is so that they would understand why we did it and how important it is for them to stay actively involved in the community and to be aware of what's going on around them as far as this nation is concerned, so they can be informed and they can be safe, because those 2 things have to go together. So when I got involved with the Million Man March, it was really Louis Farrakhan came up with the idea of the Million Man March. And there was some aspect of the black community that did not want us to do anything with Louis Farrakhan. And that was primarily because, you know, he's Muslim and we were predominantly Christian. But the message that I got was that this wasn't about our religions. It was about what can happen to African American men in particular if we don't do something to make our lives better. And so some of the black preachers did not want to participate. And so I stayed involved with it because I thought it was better than just not doing something because the people that were involved were of the Islamic faith. Because I wanted to respect whatever their religious beliefs were, and hopefully they would respect mine, and I think that's what happened. When we met in San Antonio planning for the march, one of the things we did was we had a prayer on a Christian behalf, and also they said their prayer on behalf of their Islamic faith. And the reason that was done was to exemplify that we weren't doing this for, quote, religious reasons. It was really about civil rights. It was about making America better for African Americans in particular. And then I remember the great experience that we all had going to the march. It was a time that I had never experienced in terms of seeing how African American men can come together and they can get some things done in this country and make lives better for ourselves and our spouses and our children. And so I remember when I came back, one of the meetings that we had, we were trying to determine what are we going to do now. We went to the march. It was a great experience, but we didn't want it to end there, and it didn't. Now, I know for me personally, it still has a great impact on my life. So one of the things we did when we got back, we met and we tried to decide specifically what are we going to do to make America better for African Americans. One of the things that I was charged with was to try to do something from an economic standpoint. So I'm a podiatrist, a foot specialist. I'm in private practice, and even now I own 3 separate businesses. And so I think that was probably one of the reasons they said, well, why don't you do something from an economic standpoint? And one of the things I came up with was to start an African American bank in San Antonio. And so that was the first idea that I threw out to the group, and they thought it was a great idea, because if we could at some point get ourselves to a greater position from an economic standpoint, that would help us as a people in a great way. One of the things I ran into with the idea of trying to start an African American bank is to get black people to put their money in the bank. And there was some concerns about that. And so I went to some of the churches, including my own, in talking to some business owners, and they were understandably reluctant. And so I'm not going to say that they were not supportive, but they were understandably reluctant. So one of the things that came out of that was the idea to bring together African American businesses, get them all on the same mindset, and then incorporate the idea of an African American owned bank. And that's where I put together starting the Black Business Expo, which started in 1996. March was in 1995. The Black Expo started in 1996. We started off as a small exposition of black businesses. We ended up going to the convention center, where we had a number of black businesses. And the idea behind the Black Expo was to get African American businesses to know each other, market better, communicate amongst ourselves, and then to ultimately start a black bank. The black bank never materialized, but the Black Business Expo did get us to a point where African American businesses were doing such a great thing in terms of our own people knowing who had black businesses, because that was the other thing I recognized, was that there were black businesses in San Antonio that most of us did not know were owned by African Americans. A perfect example is most of the McDonald's in San Antonio were owned by African Americans. And I went to these McDonald's. I knew about one being owned by an African American, but there were several, and that owned a number of McDonald's restaurants. And so that was the kind of thing that helped with this idea of a Black Business Expo, was to get people in our own community to know exactly what is owned by African Americans, and then for those black people to support those black businesses, because that was also key to helping us toward economic success. So the Black Expo came out of my experience going to the Million Man March. And then from there, I got more actively involved in the community with some of our chambers of commerce. And from there came out the African American Leadership Institute, which has really been reinvigorated recently. And the African American Leadership Institute was really a 9-month program to expose African Americans to every essential aspect of life in San Antonio from a historic standpoint, a business standpoint, and really every area where we need to have more knowledge and more influence. And all of that, when I think about it, came from my personal experience with the Million Man March, leading to the Black Expo, leading to the African American Leadership Institute. And even now, I'm still involved with some nonprofits. I served on the board for the San Antonio Housing Authority for 7 years, and I still think the connection was with this Million Man March. And so even in that position, I was able to look at some of the issues that black people were having as far as housing was concerned, and to make a difference in that regard. And again, all of that is related to that experience in 1995. And even now, not on the board for the Housing Authority, but now I'm on the board for 2 other nonprofits that I'm trying to use to help African Americans in their lives. And so the San Antonio Area Foundation, I'm on that board, and I'm also on the board for the Volunteers of America. Volunteers of America is a multi-billion-dollar nonprofit, and they want to do some significant things in this region. And one of the things I want them to do is to make sure that we get housing and health care for African Americans, because health care at this point in time in America is a tough thing to deal with. Some people don't have health care, or they have health care that really does not help them with some very significant problems that they have. So, and like I said, all of that is related to my experience in 1995 with the Million Man March, and it continues today. And as a matter of fact, I have a meeting with the African American Leadership Institute next week, and we're going to talk about some things that they're going to do in order to make our community better, stronger, and more economically proficient. And again, as I stated, all of that has to do with my experience with the Million Man March back in 1995. And the other thing that I'm really proud of, and I mentioned it earlier, the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, I made sure I took both of my boys back to Washington, D.C. so they could get an understanding of why we went in 1995 and some of the things that have happened to make our community better. Because once I'm gone, I want my two kids, particularly my boys, to make sure that they have the same push toward making our community better, making the black community stronger from not just an economic standpoint, but from the standpoint of community service in particular. Because I want them to be able to reach out into the community and to donate their time, their effort, and their money just to make life better for our community. So 2 things that I would tell my kids. Number 1, stay involved and accumulate knowledge as to where we are as a society. Because a lot of times our kids grow up in an environment that was better than what we grew up in. And what they think is that their world is better when it really isn't. My mind goes back to the time where Barack Obama was elected president. I remember when he was elected the first time, I was at home watching the election. And when he won, I cried. And I remember my daughter came out of her bedroom and she asked me, "What are you crying about?" And I said, "Barack Obama was elected president of the United States." And she said, "Well, okay. I mean, he seemed to be uniquely qualified. Why would you cry?" So what she didn't understand is the history behind it. And then here's the other thing. I think they may understand now, because now we are now suffering through the anguish that some of white America went through having an African American man as president. And so now I think my kids will understand that this election of an African American president led to someone like a Donald Trump, where he can openly say things that we might consider to be racist, and it is not frowned upon by a majority of white Americans. And so I want my kids to look at that and see that America really has not gotten as far as we should have. I would think at my age that America would be further along in terms of race relations, but we're not. And so I want my kids to understand that so they can continue the fight. And we need to get the message out to the younger ones that there is still a problem in America with race. And they need to be in a position to be able to fight it and to make sure, number 1, that they go out and vote, because sometimes we lose elections not because the majority rules, is because the majority stays at home. And I know with my kids, I made it a point that when they got to 18 years of age, you went down there and you got registered to vote. Because even that, they were like, "Well, why do I have to go register to vote?" And my answer was, well, if you want to keep living here, you go register to vote. And I said that in kind of a funny way to let them know how extremely important it is to stay actively involved with the process to make sure that you can get people in office that are going to look out for the best interests of all Americans. Because let me tell you something. Does America have poor black people? Absolutely. But they also have poor white people. And what happens is white people are told something that leads them to believe that they're in a better place, and they're not. You know, most of the money now goes to the super rich, and some of them that are super rich are white, and a lot of the poor white folks still get the same kind of things that they should get, but they don't get just because they're poor. And so that's the message that has to be given to America, to both black people and white. Because this country just literally, we have too much money for people to be living in poor housing. And even if you just drive through a predominantly poor white or black neighborhood, and then you drive to a neighborhood that's predominantly white, and you see the significant difference between the way people live, that's the message we need to get to America. It's really not about black and white in that sense. What it's about is making sure that everybody has an equal chance to grow and prosper in America, despite what your color is.
Hello, my name is Cornelius Cox. I'm an attorney, graduated from Howard Law School in 1983, and I'm here just to share with you a little bit about how the Million Man March occurred and what it, how it helped me, or how its impact on me, back in when I went to the original march. I anticipated that it would just be us just kind of marching, and at the end of the day, maybe some speakers, but it had a definite impact from the very beginning, from signing up and getting a lot of other brothers involved. I'm not originally from San Antonio, I'm from Miami, Florida, but the brotherhood was so strong that at the very beginning it impacted me. I remember us carrying a banner throughout the airports, and the recognition that we received from people in the airport, black folks as well as white folks, that they were very impressed that we were seeking to observe a day that would uplift us and at the same time bring us together as a brotherhood, and even perhaps even as a nation. We arrived in Washington, D.C., the San Antonio Coalition, and I believe we arrived somewhere around 7:30 that evening. And once we arrived, we were trying to get into the hotel accommodations. And what was interesting is that there were so many people, so many brothers trying to observe that day that the hotels were packed, overbooked. And what we did as a coalition, San Antonio Coalition, we had reserved our room, is that some of the brothers, we gave up our rooms, and we went into other rooms and stayed with other brothers to give brothers that arrived and didn't have a place to go, somewhere to stay. That impressed me. The first thing that we did is that after we ate some dinner, we went to the convention hall in Washington, D.C., and we had a mass religious service. It was very, very humbling. I heard great speakers, and it set the tone for what occurred that next morning. We got up very early. We went on out there in front of the Capitol, and it was packed. But it was all a lot of love, a lot of brotherhood, and we basically stayed out there until the early evening hours. I estimate more than a million people. And we were in harmony. We had a very good time. It inspired me to come back to San Antonio and to be more supportive and more in terms of bringing more to my church, bringing more to my family life, adding more to my professional life, because I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I represent a lot of people, a lot of, I won't say necessarily poor people, but people that have not had the best situations that happen in their lives. And I think that made me even a better lawyer. So I was just grateful to have that opportunity to go and to be a part of, I believe, one of the greatest marches that I've ever been involved in my life. I was too young to have participated in the March on Washington that occurred in 1963, but I was fortunate to be able to attend the Million Man March. So like I say, it was a great experience. Some of the relationships that happened during my journey to the Million Man March, a relationship basically in San Antonio that I've had and shared with brothers from that time to 30 years later. We would see each other sometimes and we reminisce about some of the things that happened. So I established a lot of good relationship with some very good brothers, and I still have those relationships today. I've been enriched because I believe that we all have a part to play as we look at the world and our country as it is today. But there were lessons that were learned, lessons that as a people we can come together and make a difference. So in terms of speaking to someone, or in terms of encouraging folks to vote and to participate in those types of things, I think that it very much enriched me and gave me that purpose to try to make a difference, to contribute to society and try to make a positive difference, not only for myself but for others. On October 16, 2025, in observance of the Million Man March, what I think I'm going to do is that I got a lot of memorabilia from that day. I still have my old newspapers from that day, but in addition to that, I'm going to make it my duty to reach out to brothers, some that perhaps I haven't spoken with in a while, but try to encourage them to know that they can make a difference and that we still have work in front of us, and that we should continue what we started. And I think that's what I think that's what I'm going to do. Being an African American male, and when I think back about what the world was like in 1995 and what the world is like now in 2025, I think that I would have thought rather that progress that we were making back in 1995 would just be a continuation, and when we would be to a better level of understanding with each other. It seems as though now that the clock is being turned back, that we're regressing in terms of human rights and civil rights, and I think that there's a deeper urgency now to join in with other groups and to talk to others and to uplift others and to move forward, because our rights that we fought for so many years seem to be becoming diminished. We have a government now that we would say used to be for the people, but it seems like it's against the people. So I think that there's a deeper urgency now for us to become more involved. We can't become complacent. We have to march, we have to encourage, we have to do whatever we deem that we can do, whatever efforts we can make to try to make this place where we live a better place, not only for us, but for our children and their children. We went in 1995, I felt that we had, as a people, accomplished something on the way of even greater things. I still remember some of the speeches that were given, and those speeches were all there to unify us and to build us up, not to break down things, but to build up. We, I think about the masses of black men that were there on the mall that day, and there was not one incident or anything that would be considered disrupting anything. Although we saw that there were some parts, I guess, of the military or police and that were in the perimeters, and they gave us our space, but there was no problems. And I reflect on what happened a year ago, several years ago with the January 6th, when a mob attacked the Capitol. And we were, as black men, at the Capitol with, say, maybe 1 million men strong, and we were very respectful, and very diligent, very humble, and we had the spirit of I would say, a Christian-like spirit about the whole day. So those are the type of contrasts that I see that we need to continue as black men, as all men, in trying to bring people together and trying to make this country and even this world a better place for everybody, not just for some, but for everyone.
My name is William B. Johnson. I'm 83 years of age, and I attended the Million Man March October 16, 1995, with a number of other black men from San Antonio. Don't recall the exact number, but I believe it was almost a plane load. We flew up to Washington, D.C., proud black men to be going to something that history making. Go back a little bit, we organized locally very, very well. T.C. Cabot was one of those who were certainly instrumental in getting us together and getting the monies and doing all that needed to be done in order to organize things so that we can fly up to Washington, D.C. As a group representing San Antonio, Texas. And we had signs, of course, that reflected that fact. I remember we were all just excited. I was a young 53-year-old, and when I heard about the Million Man March, it just dawned on me that yes, I'm going. Absolutely. There was no doubt in my mind that I should go. Black man in America, and I have the opportunity and the wherewithal to go. Certainly I went. I was supported by Emma and all the family, and that's exactly what I did. But unfortunately, my pastor at the time did not agree with my idea of going to the Million Man March. But that's one time that, and I've done it before too, I guess. I tend to think for myself. I didn't tell him, but I knew within myself that I'm going anyway. This is too important for black men of America for me not to go. So I did go, and I'm delighted even now that I went. I'll never forget the Million Man March. We arrived, we had a hotel room and such, and we was there having a good time, chit-chatting back and forth. But that first evening, we had a service of sorts at an AME church there, relatively close. We took buses to the AME church. Everything was well organized. And we rode the bus over to the church, and we had a meeting that included black men from all over America. I mean, there were black men from the East Coast, West Coast, North, East and West, just from all over, black men from all over the place. And it was a beautiful thing. I've never seen anything like it before. Black men on one accord, there for one reason. And that is to atone for what we should have been doing as black men in terms of our families and our individual lives as well. So we had a good church service at this AME church. AME meaning African Methodist Episcopal Church. And then we went back to the hotel, and excitedly, we could hardly wait until the next day. The Million Man March took place on the following day. Woke up that morning, had breakfast, and we had those in leadership positions. They talked and let us know when and what to start out walking, toward the mall. And men from all over the places and other parts of the world were there, black men. And we were just very, very excited. We were walking and talking. Folks had their signs from wherever they are. We had a big sign to San Antonio, Texas. That's who we were representing. And there were other signs representing various parts of the country. So we went, marched on up to the mall, talking, laughing, enjoying ourselves. Black men, as far as you could see. I mean, it was beautiful. As far as you could see, there were black men who were there to attend this momentous occasion called by none other than Minister Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan, to some people, was scary, but he wasn't scary to us. To us, he's another black man who had organized and put something together that's historical, that's that was designed to benefit us as black men and our families. So what's wrong with that, no matter what his religion is? So those of us in that crowd, more than 1 million, I believe, despite the numbers that came out in the newspapers the following day, I'm convinced there were black men as far as the eye could see. Look behind you, you can't see the end, to your right, to your left, to your front. I mean, just fellas from all over. and we were cordial on that day. This lie that black men can't get along or what have you, that's a misnomer. That's not true. We did on that day, 30 years ago, come 16th of October. We did. We made ourselves proud, and we left knowing that we as black men, we are all right. You know, we don't have any problem we don't have to have a problem with one another. So that's the way it was on that day. The sun was shining bright. It was a beautiful day, and things were just working well. The only issue for some was that we were standing on our feet all that time for hours and hours. But like I say, I was a young 53-year-old, and it was no problem. At that time, I didn't even have to think in terms of the men's room either. I mean, that's interesting because it's a little different now. But on that day, it was just great and fantastic. And when there came a time when Farrakhan came on, there were several speakers on that day. Please, I hope you don't expect me to remember them at this point, all of them. Mm-hmm. But I believe Jesse Jackson spoke, and there were other speakers as well who spoke and brought an encouraging word, and we certainly applauded and appreciated the words that they brought. And then the main attraction.
You know, I'm gonna ask you a question if you remember this.
Sure.
And then you'll talk about the main attraction.
Sure.
I looked at some. I did not go, but I did look at some of the film.
Yeah.
And what I thought that was so very moving for me was the fact that Maya Angelou was one of the speakers, and Rosa Parks was also
right.
one.
Yeah. Sure. I was trying to think of the name. Maya Angelou. No, you're absolutely right. It was inspirational and what have you. They definitely were there. Absolutely. And there may have been some others. But eventually, the main speaker, the minister, came on, and he was prepared, he was ready, and he came on and did what he needed to do. Primarily, he recalled to us why we were there, why he had organized this particular march, something that had never been done before in American history. So we were making history in the process. But he came on, and he must have spoken for an hour and a half, perhaps two, because he was really sharing the word with us. But we were all standing firm, all million plus of us, listening to what he had to say. And eventually he reached a point where he gave us some, provided us an opportunity to atone. He had some messages for us, such as, I will return home and be the husband that my wife deserves. And we would all, say, I agree with that. But he had several statements that he made, which I really can't recall 30 years later, to be honest with you, but I'm sure the record reflects what he asked us and how we answered.
And let me ask this question. I remember that when he was getting ready to end, he says, I'm going to tell you brothers. And he says, and then you said, say your name.
He sure did say your name. You're right. That's exactly what he did.
And he had this listing of things that you promised that you would do.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what it was. That's it. William B. Johnson, and everyone would say their name. That's exactly the way it was, man. And that was good stuff. We were all in unison, talking and answering. And he came out. He must have come out with, I guess, 15 or so of those statements. And we agreed, to do that because we said we would do so when we returned home. Well, from then after, really, it's what we would do. So it's exactly what we did. And imagine being in a crowd like that. He said, then we all say our name and repeating just black voices all over the place, saying that and agreeing. We were all on one accord on that day in a way that I hadn't seen before, but the world hadn't seen. A collection was made at the end of the program, really. I mean, there were cardboard boxes that would pass through the crowd, huge cardboard boxes, you know, and we just put money in it. And let me tell you that despite the fact that there were more than 1 million of us and those boxes were floating back and forth, there were no tinkering with the monies on that day. You know, I mean, we were men and we were determined, you know, to do the right thing. So yes, the fact that we could do that as black men, pass the box back and forth all over the place and collect, I suspect a pretty good collection tells you that we are not, that we know how to act, we know what to do, and we're all right. We're very capable of doing the right thing and standing up, being a man when the opportunity presents itself. Now, 30 years later, where am I in terms of the march? Well, coming back freshly off the march, I did attempt to do some things that I believe were different, really. And what I did do, I've always felt that I had some talent and that I wanted to do some things for the community, is really what I wanted to do. And I chose the route of serving on boards and such as one way to try to make a difference. Well, what they can do, let's start out in the church, really. Surround yourself in the church community. I'm not concerned about what type or what have you, but I think that's a good place to start, to get your spiritual food occasionally, if not every Sunday. Start there. Sometimes opportunities can be in the church initially, but then sometime the world itself will provide some opportunities if you show yourself willing and able and interested in doing something positive for us. So perhaps they could join various groups of sort, positive oriented groups. Just be a decent human being with a mind for doing positive things for our people. That's what we need. We need young black men who are capable and willing and want to do whatever it takes to continue to move the needle forward for black people. There's many, many ways to do that. But I like folk who think for themselves. Rah, rah, rah. Always remember the Million Man March. I'll always remember it. I'll never forget it.
Chris Dawkins.
Yes, sir.
Reggie Jackson.
Yes, sir.
My big brother Lefty Hardeman.
Yes, sir.
My fraternity brother Derek Montgomery. How y'all doing?
Great.
Excellent.
Man, we're going to be talking about the Million Man March today. We're going to go around and let you just kind of talk about what you remember about the march and what it means for you today and whatever you want to say about the Million Man March. We'll start with you, my brother Chris Dawkins. You were there 30 years ago. I think you might have even gone at the ones that succeeded those, but let's talk about it. Let's stick with October 16, 1995. What made you want to be a part of that journey?
Well, first of all, it was thanks for being here. Thank you for having me. But first of all, it was a very tough decision for me, okay? Because there was so much negativity that was going on. And I also should say that I am probably the only one that did not go from San Antonio. I went from Ohio. So I'm thinking, there were so many people within the community, the black community, talking about, well, don't go, this is not going to be anything. It's Minister Louis Farrakhan, blah, blah, blah. It's the NOI. They're going to recruit you. They're going to do all kind of stuff. So I got all of this stuff going on in my head. So about maybe 2 weeks before the march was to happen, and I said, based on what I know, this is going to be an incredible event. The incredible event is not, it's going to be meaningful to me, but it's going to be more meaningful to my son. So I said, I'm taking my son and we're going to go. And people don't like me saying this, but whoever missed this, they missed something in life that they could have participated in. And for whatever reason, maybe the negative things that I talked about or whatever, that they didn't go, that they didn't participate in, that kind of is the reason why I say to them, you missed an event, a life event.
Brother Greg Jackson, you were there as I want to say a representative of the Nation of Islam.
Yes, sir.
Was your journey different?
Yes.
When you went, did you go after work, or were you just kind of going to soak up the moment? What did it mean for you?
Well, being a part of the initial process, we only could play a role as a co-convener because we brought information back to the committee week after week. Brother Charles Shannon was the president, and I think John Sanders was also the president for the San Antonio group. So being in that light, and the minister put gag orders on everybody in the nation. Whatever negativity that was being spread, we couldn't respond. So my point of view was a little bit totally different because I'm holding all this and I want to explode or get in somebody's mouth like a dentist because 99% of the rhetoric was incorrect. We had 2 local minister groups here. Brother, they held press conferences saying they could not participate because Muslims didn't believe in Jesus.
Right. Oh,
or it was something because it was Minister Farrakhan. And so holding all this and to see it develop stage after stage, meaning the minister went around to 100 cities on his own dime, and seeing all this come together, I had a different insight of it because that's our brother. That's our leader, our teacher, our guide. So to see this come together, me being a part of the Nation of Islam, man, it was a whole different viewpoint. When we got to DC, during this process, brother, just to see how many black people was gathering. And at 3:30 in the morning of the march, at 3:30 in the morning, brother, there was people already on the mall.
Right.
It was never a doubt in my mind that we were not going to reach 1 million plus.
Right.
Because the energy, the work the minister put in, or the whole nation, or the fruit of Islam put in, it was just amazing.
Right.
Brother, by 3:30 in the morning, there was a brother, Dr. Edwards got his picture. We had no clue who this brother was, but he became the 44th president of the United States of America.
Wow.
It was a Barack Obama.
Wow.
And brother, it was the most beautiful day because there was not one brother stabbed, robbed. We left the mall as clean as we got there before. You would have never known there was close to 2 million people on the mall that day. Okay? Brother, I'm going to give you a little insight because we were there. They came to the minister, say 9 o'clock on that Sunday morning. They said, well, we got an escape route for you if something go wrong. And the minister listened, and Brother Sharif, Mustafa, they all present. And the minister said a few words. He said, brother, if anything go wrong, I'm going down with my people. I don't know no other leader that would have made the statement and lived by those words than the Most Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Because anybody else, they want to protect their life and get out. But brother, it was so amazing to sit back. Because the Southwest region, we were at the Washington Monument. That's the area we secured. Brother, it was so many people you couldn't even see the Lincoln Memorial in reverse of the 63 march. And brother, it closed down the whole city. That's how wide it was. Yes, sir. So it was a beautiful
day.
Yes, sir.
Brother Lefty Hardman, Edward Hardman, come to you. Now, you were huge in convening the march in your city, the city of San Antonio, Texas, and getting everybody there safely and doing all that kind of stuff. Did that somehow, were your expectations met when you got to DC and saw the 2 million, 1 million, whatever it was, with all the work you had done in the city of San Antonio, and then you finally got to the march itself because you didn't know what was going to happen. When you got up there, was it a sigh of relief? Who this worked out, or what were your thoughts when you got there after all the work you had done?
Well, first of all, thank y'all for having me here. But I want to say that the preparations and the excitement here was nothing compared to when I got there. The entertainment, the different people that spoke, it was breathtaking because we're seeing people that You see concerts. I mean, there was people from all over, all walks of life. I mean, professional boxer champions. They had all kinds of Will Smith. Oh, I mean, I saw these people. I have pictures of them. So the most intriguing thing about being there was from San Antonio, we were together.
Yes.
We had a banner that he alluded to the time that we got up. It was like 4:30, something like that. Some of them wanted to go eat, but it's like, no, man, we got to go to, we got to walk now. We got to follow this banner. And so once we got there, everybody started to come down to where everything was about to take place. And all of these different activities was going on. On the other side of this barrier, you couldn't go but so far. And like he alluded to earlier, when you look back toward the monument, you know, all you see is African Americans, black folks. That's all you saw. There were some women that were there that felt like it was important that they saw what we saw.
Right.
And I was impressed with that. I didn't say anything to any of them about thank y'all for coming, but they were there. But the thing that I got out of the march itself was the minister speak. The man stood on the podium for 3.5 hours and never had a desire for water, want to go to the restroom, or any of that. So while he's standing, I'm right here watching him. My 2 feet, I only have 10-inch shoes. So I'm standing in one spot, and all of these people we're all on top of each other. So you can't turn and say, I'm going to the restroom. So it was a true blessing to know that the Spirit of God was in the mix. Because I had no desire for food, drink, I wanted to go to the restroom. And one of the things I like to leave with this is that during that time, there were several things that went on that, because we got there on the weekend. So there were all kinds of things going on the night before that the man that was going to buy the Spurs, he was there. I got a chance to see him in this auditorium, and they had all these brothers from all over the world, all over the United States rather, that were there. And I was impressed. I mean, my heart was, you know, I had to hold my heart because I was so excited of seeing so many of our people together, and wasn't any discord. Nobody was mad at each other or complaining about this or complaining about that. And I was just totally amazed at all that went on. But the thing I want to point out is 2 young men, and I have the pictures, stood next to me. They were murderers. They were from California. They came for the atonement. That's why they were there. And as Farrakhan was speaking, they broke down and cried. And I knew they were sincere. They didn't know how to go to the people's families that they killed, but they shared the fact that they had killed people in California because they were gang members. And I admire them for the attitude and the disposition they had, even though what they did was wrong, but to know that these men were deeply, deeply sorry for what they had done. And I was totally impressed with that.
Thank you, man. Thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
Brother Derek, coming to you now, you have I call it a different perspective, because you actually lived in D.C. So you were actually up there. You were a graduate of Howard University, correct?
Correct.
Graduate of Howard, so you have D.C. all in your blood. You were in the mosque.
At one time, yes, I was in mosque number 4, but originally, I'm originally from Los Angeles. Was registered at mosque number 27, and in my educational journey, transferred to Howard University and transferred also through the mosque to mosque number 4. Was a student minister back then under Dr. Abdul Muhammad, who was the national representative for Minister Farrakhan, so I was in the mosque in the early 90s during that time period, actually graduating. But after hearing everyone's...
Well, let me ask you, before you go, I didn't ask you no question yet.
Okay.
So, and you can add that in there, but I just wanted to come at you. You were a young guy back then. You know, you were young, probably in your 20s back then.
Yes.
And so add this to your answer. Like, what did it mean for you as a young man? Why did you even go? You 20 years old. I mean, where did that energy and where did that enthusiasm come from?
Right. Well, as you just said, I was a member of the Nation of Islam. Always had a push on knowledge of self, and the teachings were part of me. And hearing the minister make that call was definitely one of the reasons I wanted to go. And in fact, I lived in D.C. too. There was no excuse in my point of view. But just after hearing everyone's point of view, it brought back a lot of memories of during that time period. When the one the brother said when people were unsure, it reminded me there was a movement of folks who were kind of anti, but you can feel the momentum change and swing. And you started seeing these people, these Negro leaderships, started to jump on the bandwagon because they felt they were going to miss an opportunity to pass the chicken bucket or whatever it was to make their little end. And you could see them slowly jumping on ship. For example, and I'm not going to even say the names of reverends and other folks. You could see them jumped on the bandwagon. It was kind of phony, in my opinion. And coming back from a young man, from my point of view, I was only 24 years old, just graduated from Howard University that spring. Well, I graduated and finished my program, but went through the ceremony in that spring. And on top of that, the temperature and what was going on in the country, you just got to remember, the OJ trial just convened, and remember there was that somewhat of a divide with black, white because of the OJ trial. So you had that momentum on top of it. What also comes back to my mind, hearing some of our elders speak and some of our ancestors speak. Well, he wasn't an ancestor. No, he was an ancestor at the time, past ancestor, brother. So I've heard words, Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael. All the scared Negroes are dead, you know? And that's what made me think about that as well. But also being a young man and thinking about my family, whatever my offspring is later on, I just couldn't see myself being in D.C. and then my kids asked me, because I knew this was going to be a huge historic event. And to have my kids, well, Dad, what were you? And this, that, and other, and not have an answer and not be there. But it was also a great opportunity. A lot of friends and folks that I grew up with from California came and they stayed with me. We all went to the march as well. So it was overwhelming. As far as seeing this, being that I lived in the district during that time period, it was, back then that's when it was Chocolate City. So seeing a number of black people was not unusual or uncomfortable for me. Where I could understand some people who were, depending where they lived and not being in a predominantly black setting, may make them feel uncomfortable. But I got that adjustment of culture being at Howard. And to a certain degree, it kind of felt like a super duper homecoming. For a Howard home or HBC homecoming. So it gave that feel, but it was also a different energy. It almost euphoric kind of energy. The analogy I usually tell people, if you're a Star Trek fan, in the movie called Generations, there was this thing called the Nexus. The Nexus, that's the kind of feeling you got within it. It was such a surreal, peaceful energy that was flowing. And just when I think about just the movement of that day was unreal. And then what also comes back when your brother was talking about the minister speaking for 3 hours, and if you are used to know some of the minister's speeches, it was not unusual. It was not unusual, but his speeches would always give you that point and take you around there and get you to the point. But also, what I thought of and seeing all the people and the movement and hearing the minister, the words of the messenger popped in my head. When you see him, look at him. Where he says go, go, and where he says stay, that popped in my head as well. All those things, and just the movement of that, and also what I loved about the request, it was for us to atone. It wasn't there, we wasn't begging for anything. It was about accountability. It was about making yourself better. And so what I also know later on, people, well, what do we get out of it? No, you got in what you put in. And you were given orders what to do afterwards. So it wasn't something, and that's what I talk about, those Negro leaderships, passing a bucket and one another. It wasn't about that. It was about accountability and us growing as black folks and hopefully grow our own economy and our own ecosystem, if you will.
Right.
So
I've heard atonement mentioned twice. And it was the Holy Day of Atonement.
Right.
So, and y'all can all go in here, but I'm gonna start with you, Chris, if you want to add to that. Did the atonement last? I know it was atoned for that day. Did it last? Has it lasted 30 years, in your opinion?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I think it lasted from the standpoint of, especially when people came back, and like Lefty was talking about, those people, you had people from all types of, all walks of life, and this event changed their lives. So by it changing their lives, and by them thinking about where they had been, yes, I think it did change some things. And I'm not so sure that it did last. And when I say it didn't last, it goes back to when the brother was saying, you got into it you got out of it what you put into it, okay? That was a very profound statement to me. And because people today will always ask you, well, what did we get out of it? Or what came out of that? So, you know, we'll talk at a different time, but I'm kind of disappointed in where we are somewhat as black people right now because of nobody has done anything like the Million Man March before, and we're talking about 30 years now, and nobody's done anything afterwards. But you still have people who want to throw rocks and talk about what has happened. So when you talk about atonement, yes, I think some of us did and continue to have that. The last thing I'll say is that those of us who were sitting around this table, I think that even before we went, we had an idea and an understanding of who we were. We grew up in a way where we knew right from wrong. All of us wanted to do something that was right. So the atonement, in my opinion, in that particular instance, was each of us who were individual and like-minded, we still remain like-minded, okay? Because we know of something better. It's not what people say, white people especially, that we are murderers and thieves and can't be trusted and different things like that. I think that going to the Million Man March where you saw nothing really happen, it was just brothers coming together, we saw that. We demonstrated that. So I guess that's the best way that I could sum it up.
That's good, great. 30 years later, has atonement been realized? Is it still being realized? What are your thoughts on the theme Holy Day of Atonement 30 years later?
30 years later, sir, I'm still trying to atone. Meaning I'm going back to some folks, if I said something that hurt your feelings, I can apologize for it. I think that once again, we as individuals got to, change only comes through an individual. The minister brought something to the table for all 2 million, plus the 48 million Negroes that lived at home that couldn't go to the march. They should have took the same concept. Because some of us haven't spoke to some of our own family members, brother, because that's turmoil in the family. That was the part that we should have all took a part of and went back and said, I'm sorry. If I did anything wrong, please accept my apology. Then that creates the same effect because the person you apologizing to has done something wrong as well. So I believe that is going on, and I can see change. I'll do a little travel. Black folk are not the same 30 years ago that they were back then. I have some Negro, well, I ain't gonna say that, some Baptist preachers that I was friends with before we left, but I think we became better because it was the after effect. See, meaning that they stood on a principle that they thought was fact, but the response of the Million Man March and all the positivity that came out of it, man, when we got back here, Lefty will tell you, it was people waiting to get into a Saturday meeting that didn't go. See? So we are more of a reactive people, and when you understand that, then you can accept the people. And then we got to learn how to be patient with one another. I don't believe there's what also came out of this deal, out of the Million Man March and the atomic process, is that what Minister Farrakhan did, he showed us that brother, he loves more of his own people than they could ever love him. And I think that's the concept that we all miss. If we really look at and study just the Million Man March, the man have made thousands of speeches. But if we really just look at the Million Man March, he went to a group of people first. Not one of them helped him. Not one. But on that day before the march, brother, they all showed up at his hotel room. Bandwagon jumpers. And 2 or 3 of them, I'm gonna name one, it was Jesse Jackson. He came, no, and the reason I'm laying this out because it's history, brother. And the minister loves the brother. The question was, brother minister, how long could I speak? The minister said, brother, I can't put a time limit on it. Speak till you get full. Wow. Now you tell me what brother's gonna spend his money. You show up 9 months later, after all the work is done, and ask to speak on a podium that you haven't done any work for. Wow. Wow. And a brother gives you the respect, the honor, speak till you get tired. Yeah. Nobody does that, brother. Wow. That's love.
Wow. Wow.
That's love.
That's love. Brother Hardman, you brought up atonement first. I mean, 30 years later, is it working? Are you satisfied? Could we do more?
Well, I'm guilty of not remembering that part of the marches for the atonement. I have some things that I myself is still dealing with, but I speak to other people in a different vein. Because I'm always trying to encourage people to do the right thing, to work toward your goals, understand who you are, but I fall short, personally, and not getting into it, but I have some atonements that I have to do that I'm still battling with.
Yes, sir.
So you brothers can pray for me, right? Because it's deep. It's very deep, and I can't say that I will get through it, but I'm trying, and it's a difficult task, and I wouldn't put it on anybody. But the atonement is very important to be able to look a person in the eye and say, if I offended you in any way, I want you to know that I'm truly sorry, and that if there's anything that I can do to mend what I or you have created, I'm there for you.
Yes, sir. Wow. Yes, sir.
Brother Derek, you hadn't been living long enough to offend anybody back then. so, I don't even know if you knew what atonement meant back then. Did it resonate with you later?
Well, no, it resonated with me. And like I just said, I knew it was a day for the individual. Right. This was about the individual. Right. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't about us begging or asking for something. It was about the individual. And Brother Greg just brought up a lot of things that made me just think. And as I said, I believe the atonement is based on the individual, not a collective. No. So it's whatever you put in. But Brother Greg also made me think about the minister and what he said. And I will say this about the minister. He was given a mission, and that mission, there was a reason why he was given it, because I wouldn't have been able to take those things. If the minister was thrust upon him, no. Brothers, I have a certain different kind of spirit. So if you come at me a certain way, and maybe that's the whole atonement, and I need it right there.
You need to atone, right?
But I believe in justice, though. Yeah. I'm a firm believer in justice. Yeah. So it's up on us to enact those justices. And I heard certain people at the march and whatever, and that helped them atone, i.e. President Obama. I mean, future President Obama. Well, I guess we'll see. Hopefully he's atoning. So I guess the question being the atonement. Yeah, I'm still atoning. I'll probably atone to the day I have my final
resting place.
So
and he is atoning.
Is he?
Recently.
Really?
He atoned. Yeah, he atoned for what he did to Gaddafi.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I told you, I'm the best way to atone. I told
Man,
you.
Derek, this is a family show.
I'm not going I'm a firm believer regard people first, like the minister. I don't make it. Some people try to make the march political. That's not how I see it. I've always been black first. Never used the term African American. Don't believe in that term. That's whole going off topic. But nonetheless, I'm grateful for that day. It was life changing. Like I said, it was definitely a day in history for myself.
All right, we're gonna take a couple of minutes, take a break for a couple of minutes. We got 2 more guests we're gonna bring on, so y'all take care of your body. Go. We are back talking about the October 16th, 1995 Million Man March. 30 years later, we have all these distinguished men on here. We just been joined by my brother Frank Dunn, Pastor Reverend John Sanders. So we got insight from our 4 in the first segment. I'm gonna come back to you, Brother Dunn, and what I wanted to ask you first is what that day meant to you personally, coming from San Antonio, traveling to Washington, D.C. What did that mean to you when you got to D.C.?
It was life-changing. It just grabbed me. We had been doing mentorship at that time, but nothing to the capacity that I saw other men talking to other men and what they were doing. The atonement part was great, because I mean, everybody has to atone. There is something in your universe that you need to atone about. And so it's each individual that comes back with a different atonement. And I knew mine when I came back to town. I was like, okay, these are the things I need to do. So there's always assignments that God gives you. Part of the assignment that God assigned me to was to develop more youth, be strong on my side of town. I was raised in the Denver Kites. Everybody knows I come from Denver Heights, Texas, but I couldn't limit it just to Denver Heights, Texas. And when I came back, the people I needed to talk to, I went to them personally and talked to them and told them if I offended them, you need to tell me how I did it. And then we took it from there. And even to this day, some of them talk to me and just say, you know, they'll bring it up, Frank, you really did something. We saw a change in you when you got back.
Wow, that's Reverend Sanders, along the same lines, in your response, I want you to talk about atonement. We talked about atonement 30 years later. Is it working? Did it work? So your question is what that day meant to you, and did the Day of Atonement, did it last? Is it lasting? What are your thoughts on the atonement process?
Okay. The day, beginning with that particular morning, not going into preamble, was beautiful. Weather was fine. Everybody was up. We knew what our anticipation was, but not our expectation. Because our expectation was over the top. To have that many men, and it was 1 million plus, to even come in that area. Now, just to show how, maybe not naive, but just how we wasn't thinking past our shoes. We left out early. We walked over into the field. We judged now, and our number one concern is if somebody has to be relieved, how far we're gonna have to go. Right. This is early. Right. We walk up to the front. We're at the front of the area in the field, not up on the stage or anything, but in the field. We're kind of positioned, some of us, and moving back. In the next hour, we're now locked in. Yes. For the next 5-6 hours. Right. Standing or stooping, but you're not going anywhere. Right. It's sardines. The smart people on the end can get to the porta potties. Right. We there. So good kidneys and good lock it down. That's the first thing I discovered. We are landlocked. So lock in, we here for the duration. And it's gonna be 4 hours before the minister even comes on. So between knees and kneeling on each other and just somebody getting down in somebody's space and then get up, then the other person get down there. Okay. Atonement part, it was a beautiful thing. Why? Having been a part of activism and the movement thing, I knew this was crossing a number of barriers. And this is gonna bring black men from a number of different genres, because we're not a monolith. So now we're there. And when you say atonement, okay, as a Christian, I'm told to atone every morning. Every day that I wake up, first thing I do when I thank the Lord for even waking me up, and anything I've said or done being contrary to purge it from my heart, relieve it, take it away. I'm supposed to be doing that every day. But now I see Greg, and I remember when I took Greg Stacy Adams because I had to go to a banquet, and I didn't tell him, but I sent him $60 in the mail for his birthday. It's now time for me to atone. I didn't atone for that. Didn't ask the Lord to forgive me, nothing. I thought I'd pay, I covered it. I need to atone. It opens you up to closed doors where you bury some things that you either were too ashamed, embarrassed, whatever, didn't want to say. I'm sorry. However, whatever it was that you, as Brother Hardeman was saying, that you needed to find out and get straight. Right. Any brothers who you knew back home that, y'all not all on the same page all the time, and y'all whatever, that you need to atone for, even as we disagree, how we do it. Right. In the spirit of how we even disagree or coexist in the same space. So it took it to the next level. In a real way. And whoever was not already on the basic level of forgiveness and basic level of self-governing, it made us self-govern. The minister, when it came to the whole thing about atonement, it's self-govern yourself. Where are you falling short that you need to humble yourself and get right? Whatever area it was. And so across the board, and men who didn't even know each other, finding out about each other, hugging each other, grabbing a bond. Men came home. You're not going to see the results of something like that for years, because seeds are going to be planted. Fathers are going to plant seeds in their sons and in their daughters, in their houses, in their spouses. They're going to become better, whatever. That's going to activate something in their spouses. They're going to make them better. And then all of us are going to be better. They're going to be happier when I see them in the store. They're going to be this, man, I thought about that. I haven't done any of this. How can I get involved? I'm going to get with Frank because he's dealing with kids. I want to know how can I come out and help with the AAU and this summer, can I get on? You're going to look out. You're going to open up your heart and your mind to something new because you've been elevated to another level in that atonement spirit that we were all in. And it crossed so many denominational, worship lines, whatever, however you want to call it, generational, older men, younger men, East Coast men, West Coast men, Southern men, all the different areas and traditions that we bring to the table.
So you mentioned the youth. Now I want to bring that question to everybody. Is the message still resonating, you think, with those young men who weren't even born 30 years ago, but maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But the youth today, does the message of that feeling that y'all all had, that euphoria that you had, has that message been lost, or are we still putting that message out there? Hardeman, I'll start with you. Is that message being lost in our youth today, or do they know nothing about the message?
Well, I guess you'd have to point out the areas where the conversations are taking place. We can't say that it's all over the city or in all of the black areas in the city as far as educating them on preparedness. I think there's work to be done because this generation of children from middle school is on a different page. When you communicate with them, their attitude and dispositions is different. And I would say from a family standpoint, if you have a mom and dad in the house, you're going to get a different kid. The one that's on the outside that stand with grandma, doesn't see mom as often as they want to, dad is nowhere to be found, then you got serious issues on that side. The churches aren't doing enough. And we as individuals aren't doing enough. My life is about talking to 18 to 30 years old. That's because of my profession.
Right.
And I say that because I'm going to retire soon, and I'm going around and talking to young people that are electricians. But when you talk to them, they talk different. They talk just a job.
Yeah.
And to be a business person, it's more than just a job.
Right.
You know, you have to have a love and a passion for what you're doing to be able to get up every morning when you know you don't want to go to work. But this generation is different, and I haven't talked with anyone that can help me fine-tune a conversation that you can have with them that can get them to start realizing that life is not promised to you.
Right.
You know, when you wake up in the morning, you give honor to God, and you ask for a good day.
Right.
And along the way, ask for wisdom to help you navigate through the things that you're going through. And all of us are going to go through something. But this generation is a little different, and I don't think, and it's just my opinion, it's not all on the church. It's really the community in itself. And the African American, the black, whatever you want to call us, is fragmented. Now, we, in my opinion, we have the Nation of Islam leader, okay? Because we've heard him and we know what he's about, and from time to time, I'm sure some of us listen to some of his messages on TV, on radio. We need to find a way to collectively, entrepreneurs, to find a venue or an attitude and disposition to help them understand that you got to push through that not wanting to do. You got to find a way to understand that if it's getting into the Word, then get into a good Bible class where it would help you understand that everything that you do comes with consequences, good or bad. And I can leave it at that.
Greg, is the message lost in our youth today?
I think this generation of youth is the best generation. I've heard the minister say it, and I've taken it and looked at it for myself. Meaning, they're not going to do what we did 30, 40 years ago. You got to bring actual fact. Give them, there's no such thing as just say and believe. They want to see the reality behind what's been said and done. So I think on the perspective of the Nation of Islam side, because I am a member, we do things a little bit different. Number one, the reality of it is that we're bringing the child along because the mysteries of what we have dealt with growing up, they're solving these mysteries. That's what the teachings do for you if you get into the teachings of the Most Holy Elijah Muhammad, the Most Honorable Louis Farrakhan. The greatest question on the planet Earth, where we would not argue over, is who is God? We got a million different perspectives, but it can't be but one answer. And that's the difference in the Nation of Islam, because we learn the reality of God, right? Now, moving forward, we got to take it from theory into fact. Most of us go to school, and I'm not against going to college, brother. I just say this all the time. You need to get out of the European-centric education and learn the fact of education, because we believe that from slavery forward is our success. Amen. In one sense, it may be. But what were you before? That's the disconnect. Because if you do not know that you are the father, the mother of mathematics, music, science, culture, being a doctor, if you go around the room and ask anybody, hell, some of the old, who is Imhotep?
Right.
They couldn't tell you. Multi-genius. He's the first known Christ. He is the first architect, doctor. The same tools that Imhotep used 4,000 years ago, they might in the medical field, because they say hypotheses is the father of medicine. Hell, that ain't true. Hypotheses said Imhotep was. But they might have added 5 new tools to the bag, brother, that this man did 4,000 years ago. So the disconnect is not knowing ourselves. And that's what the Nation of Islam teaches, is the knowledge of self. We think the knowledge of self is, oh, I know who my mama is, my daddy, I believe in X, Y, Z. That's not knowledge of self. You a damn fool, and when I say this, I'm not being disrespectful. but in no means. I don't mean it that way. I have traveled the world, and everywhere I've been, whether I go through customs and a brother come up and give you the greetings, assalamu alaikum. If I return the greetings, he know that I'm not from Kenya. But I tell him, brother, Minister Farrakhan is my own. You know what they do? Take me out of line, brother, take me all the way to the front and escort me out.
Wow.
So the minister has made friendships in all walks of life. If you know yourself, then you know the greeting, because language is our barrier. Prove my point. If I asked everybody, because I do this from time to time, brother, will you submit your will to do the will of God? I ain't met a person yet that will say no. Then I say, you know, there's one word in Arabic. What is that, brother? Muslim. But it's language. We don't understand language. So if all the priests and the sisters go around to my peace be unto you, the $1 million question is, what is that saying in Arabic?
Right.
It's Arabic.
Right.
So we are so far disconnected because we have no knowledge of self. Right. Everybody on the planet Earth know who the black man and black woman is, except us. Now, I don't know how many Masonic Masons that we got in the room, but if you only can get 32 degrees of knowledge, and I'm walking around with 90 now, on my way to 360, 32 degrees and any temperature is still freezing, sir. It's on a dead level. Follow me? So when you in that realm, you don't think about it. But
I'm gonna jump in and cut you off. We gotta get through all these people, man. You dropping knowledge today.
Yes, sir.
Brother Dawkins,
Yes, sir.
I got a special one for you, Representative, so be on the lookout. So, the youth, is the message lost on today's youth? All that euphoria that we had on October 16, 1995, is it gone?
Most of my answers have been kind of like multiple. I think for the most part, yes, it is gone. But each of us individually carry on with our children, with our grandchildren, the people who are around us. We say certain things and tell them, or we expose them to things like what we're talking about now, and they're able to learn from that. But when you talk about, when Greg talks about the kids of today, they're looking for receipts. They want to know, how much am I going to make, or what's going to happen today, or is it going to help me, or whatever. But the difference is that what we are teaching our kids and grandkids is that it's not always about the money. It's not always about what you're going to get totally out of it as an individual. It's what you're going to get out of it from the God within you, okay? And I think that that's very important. So when you talk about, you know, I'm very kind of upset that the people of today, after 30 years of going through the Million Man March and the different things that we've heard from the Nation of Islam, and when I say the Nation of Islam, that includes the Minister Louis Farrakhan, that includes the Minister Elijah Muhammad, that even includes Malcolm X, and all the others who fall up under that. But my point is this, is that as a black people, we still send our kids to be educated by our captain, by our captain, oppressor. Then we have a situation where, you know, I was talking to one brother, and they were talking about how the Nation of Islam and being able to meet a woman and how that happens. That's what every woman wants. The things that we are looking for are some of the things that they have already carved out for us, okay? But it's us, and I say us in a general standpoint, who refuse to look at that and want to take ourselves forward. The last thing that I will say is that what's happening in the world today, let me take that back. What's happening in America today, in my opinion, is a result of us, black people, not having a leader. And when I say not having a leader, I don't mean that we don't have one, because the Nation or Louis Farrakhan is a leader, but you don't want to recognize that. And I think that that's a problem. And if you don't want to recognize that, then show me something different that's better.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Brother Dunn, Has the message been lost on the youth, or you want to pick up where Brother Dawkins? I saw you squinting back there, so you want to kind of add something to that. The question on the floor is the message lost on today's youth? And you have youth programs and all that. Is that same euphoria you had 30 years ago? Is it in them?
I don't think the youth now. Well, let me preface this. The youth now are stronger than the generation prior to that, because that in between, because these young folks now, if they have an opinion about something, win, lose, or draw, they're gonna stick with that opinion, and that's the way they roll. And I love that. I'd rather deal with them than deal with their parents.
Wow.
I see that in the middle generation, in part of that, the thing that I think that got us where we are and hurt us was weak leadership in top black organizations. And that goes all the way to DC. The leadership stopped when we didn't have people that we put where they were in leadership programs, got bought out, and they were soft. And they bought into a program that was, that hope, and I'm going white with this. They bought into that white program that they need to fit in. And let's be clear about this. We're never gonna fit into a white man's program, ever in life. We are black folks. Our program is the one that we developed. And so I'm looking at it in my younger kids, and who they are, they might even go to a 90% white school, but they still, and they have a presence, and they can deal with it. They can, just like I said, they deal with it stronger than their parents are. Asking parents that they gotta go to school and get them out of trouble. But this is what I see. So they're easier to talk to and bring in and get them cleared up than the parents ever would. Because we tried to fit in that college education, 2 cars, big house, and I'm going to church on Saturday going to church on Sunday, Saturday with a suit on. We cool.
We cool.
Yeah.
Saturday. Brother Derek, you youngster here, so
yeah.
are you satisfied with the response of your elders today, me being one of them? Are you satisfied with what's happened in the last 30 years as a result from what our elders have done? Reverend Sanders, he was only in his 20s. He was there. He lived in D.C., went to Iowa. Okay. So his perspective is a little different. So are you?
So hearing that in your question, the ball game basically has it carried on. To me, hearing everyone's answers, like Brother Derek saying, yeah, about this generation is the greatest and how they see things. Another brother's answer. To a degree, I see that what happened, the ball was dropped. Like the one brother said, a lot of us bought into trying to fit in into a society that's really not structured for us. And then the other brother talking about having our kids in the educational system. And it comes back, I always hear the message's words. If the man won't treat you right, he won't teach you right. Exactly. So he always told us to get our kids out of that man's school system. And as Brother Greg said, like this generation, if they have a different spirit, which their spirit is kind of like going and teaching. Can you show and improve? I need actual facts. You just think those things, that's off the nation. And just hearing some of the things on how some of the interaction socially and how some of the women are presenting themselves today, I see there's a huge need for MGT class. MGT needs to be implemented on how things are being presented.
What's MGT?
Right, what's MGT?
Muslim girls in training and civilization. So those kind of things need to be somehow pushed. And brother said about leadership. I don't think we're at a point, we've had our leaders. We had the master, we had Master Farah Muhammad here. We don't need anymore. He gave us the message, he gave us the Minister Farrakhan. We have a code. We have the code. The code is the leader. Your behavior is the leader. We don't need any more leaders. You know what to do. We was given a mission 30 years ago. We were given orders what to do. So we're beyond that. So to say all that, I think what happened is the ball was dropped. And I kind of felt that way in my 20s back then. I felt the older generation that came before me, and I hate to call them the black baby boomers. They were so wanting to get next to white folks, have sleeping with white women, or partying with them. But I would say the black baby boomer, in my opinion, dropped the ball significantly.
Wow. Okay.
In my opinion.
Well, we sorry.
Yeah.
We had
Y'all
talked.
heard it.
We had talked.
I've always felt
said
that,
we sorry.
that they didn't set the table. Now, and also I'll say from my generational perspective, and I look at behavior, social behavior, and historical. In the late 50s, 60s, because of Emmett Tills and all the turmoil that happened, white society was really scared what was going to happen. And then what happened? They opened up opportunities for the black baby boomers. And then instead of them picking up the ball and running with it, they wanted to get close to their white counterparts and party with them, thought they could do the same thing. And they dropped the ball and ended up getting hooked on the programs kind of closed and the opportunity, or they missed the whole run through. And what happened, in my opinion, is certain programs closed up for the younger youth of my generation, and then as a result, my generation, we were a generation that we dropped the ball as well based on what happened to baby boomers. Instead of building our economy, we kind of festered and created a sub economy, pushing the drugs, and our main customers were the baby boomers, those black baby boomers. And then as a result, also, breakup of the family. My generation, I would say, we were the ones that helped create the whole breakup of families, where we had the baby mama.
Right.
Thing where women were choosing just to have having babies with a select few guys. Because what people don't know, and how this has been presented over the last few years, like black men are irresponsible with having all these kids over here. So that's really not the case. You look up the statistics, only 54% of black men have no children. You have a significant number of women having children by a small number of men. That's what people don't realize.
That's true, bro.
Reverend Sanders, hold on.
Gotta ask me a question.
Okay, we were talking out. Well, y'all were talking out camera. I'm over here
Just give me
listening.
anything.
And you were, and our young buck over here, he was saying he was disappointed.
I understand it.
In
And I don't want
the
him to feel
overflow.
no. I don't feel no.
And you were
complaint.
giving him a response to that. What's that response?
We're not taping yet, are we?
Yeah, we're recording.
Oh, no, okay.
What you got? You know what
No,
I'm saying?
I wanted him to be able to say he needed to set it
I'm
up.
gonna say that's all right.
Okay.
That's what he said.
Okay.
But he said, Brother Derek said, I'm disappointed in you
I
over
got what
here.
everybody said.
Now,
I got what
you
everyone
were responding to him. What was finish
Yeah,
that?
no, I'm
Finish
saying,
that.
and I understand one of the things happened. Those of us who have been in it understand, and what people are saying who haven't been in it, when they have comments not recognizing what it takes to be in it and get it done. The reason I ask him, when I hear the words, I feel my elders have failed me, you got the Voting Rights Act in the 60s. That was what they got us. You got the Civil Rights Act. You got the Fair Housing Act. You got a number of acts. I just left doing something similar to this when we talk about generations, with a very promising pair of young ladies who are moving the agenda forward. They did get it. Some in our generation do, some don't. One of the questions was about, recognizing how we come and where we have come from. To say they went the last mile of the way that they're supposed to go, then we became aware. When I entered SAC at 17 years old as a high school graduate, my term papers in my senior year, I had just finished reading the autobiography of Malcolm X twice. That was my high school English term paper. I had read the July 4th speech of Frederick Douglass. That was my history class term paper. I am now at San Antonio College meeting racism for the very first time. Organized administrative racism. When San Antonio College didn't want our black intramural basketball team, coached by the late C.W. Cunningham, Denver Heights. At San Antonio College had won the intramural championship at SAC, and they wanted us to integrate our team to represent in the citywide basketball tournament. Also Richard Anderson, Denver Heights.
We said no. Because if any of those teams had won, they would not have been asking us to be in there. So no, that was my first whatever, and I discovered, like our priest has said, the two most important dates in your life. The day that you were born and the date you discover why. I discovered why I was born my first semester at San Antonio College when I had a huge thing about it.
Take this pledge with me. Say with me, please. I say your name. Pledge that from this day forward, I will strive to love my brother as I love myself. I say your name. From this day forward, will strive to improve myself spiritually, morally, mentally, socially, politically, and economically for the benefit of myself, my family, and my people.